You're listening to The State of Play, a quick-fire roundup of all things Irish football and beyond. Coming up on this episode, we've the very latest on the FAI's attempt to replace Stephen Kenny, plus Gleeson grilled, and another legend leaves us. Andreas Brehme, the World Cup winner, passes away. All this and more coming up on A State of Play. David Dunn here, joined by Martin Prendergast. Welcome to another edition of The State of Play. If you like what you hear and you love what you see, hit that subscribe button, scan that QR code, head over to our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Right, let's get into it, Martin. Things have changed a little bit since we were last on. Of course, we were on for a 2-hour live special on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you wouldn't mind. 2 hours basically listening to people giving out. But that's what we do, isn't it? We are the voice of the fans, but it's all changed. Apparently, Chris Coleman isn't in the running for the Irish job. It was announced on the 19th of February. BBC Wales actually reported that Chris Coleman was ruled out of the running just after he'd been heavily linked. This is also just after Neil Lennon had been ruled out himself. So basically, Martin, we haven't got a clue what's happening, do we? We haven't got the foggiest idea of what's happening and who's going to get it. We've heard rumours, which we'll get into in a second. But, yeah, I mean, do you think this was a kite flown by the FAI just to gauge public opinion? Because it seems to be a common thing, doesn't it? You know, we haven't got Carsley, maybe Neil Lennon. You know, we hear what the public think of that. We hear what our listeners hear on this. And then he's out of the running. And you think, oh, thank God for that. And then it's Chris Coleman. And we go through the same process again. And now he's ruled out after what can I be really labelled as a huge backlash, really, wasn't it?
There was a huge backlash to it, yeah. And it's great to be on the pod again and you know, on the show. And we had a great chat the other night. It was great interaction with everybody and giving lots and lots of opinions. And that's what it's all about. It wasn't a popular choice at all, Coleman, when he was linked with a job. You know, his son was engaging with Irish fans on Twitter. I see that made the mainstream media that was picked up of, you know, different kind of backlash, kind of tweets back to him and engagement. But I actually seen one view of a fan today saying, you know, oh, is it any wonder it's a poison chalice now, this job? No, who's going to want to take it because it's so vitriolic? Some of the abuse people are giving on social media. I don't really get that at all. I think everyone just wants the best for Irish football. And you know, we've all got opinions. That without doubt, you know, that's it. Everyone's got their own opinions of managers we'd love to have or people we don't like. That's football. That's why we're football fans and supporters of the Irish team. So we all want the best for it. Thankfully, you know, it's changing day by day. You know, we don't have a clue what's going on, Dave, but we're just hopeful that the powers that be, Mark Canham, Jonathan Hill, and the board of directors at the FAI, they do have a plan. They do know what's going on. They know now what their pathway is, which was released today as well, which will make interesting reading, and we're kind of testing that still. But you know, the long-term vision of the FAI is to kind of put in place this structure for 20 years now and develop Irish football at all different levels. And that's going to be key, getting this appointment of the manager absolutely right. It's a big responsibility. That is what Mark Canham said today as well. We recognise the responsibility that they have, and they have. I think now the way I'm inclined to think about this is that it's dragging on so long. I wouldn't be surprised, as we alluded to on the show the other night. I don't really see what the rush is to get these games in March with the full-time manager in place. Well, I'd rather get it right and wait in June.
We'll get to that in a second. What did you make, though, of some of the reports? I think it was reported in the Irish Mirror that Coleman turned it down. I don't believe that.
I don't think that's right at all. No, I think, I'll be honest, we were accused of it the other day ourselves, a bit to be like clickbaiting. I think that was that angle of that, really. You know, you know, I think that was the angle of that, you know, just to get engagement. Oh, actually, wow, well, he must have been offered the job then, because, you know, the FAI, I think, have been quite clear. They've been quite coy on this. They've, you know,
no one's been offered a job, according to Mark Canham.
It's being drip-fed through, like people who he's had a chat to and spoken to. And of course, if you think about it in football, it's a small kind of world in a sense. And, you know, if Neil Lennon has been speaking in the media and been asked about it on every TV show he's been on when he's been doing punditry, and now he's actually had the phone call and he's said, well, actually, it's not me, or he's released that to close friends, or even potential suitors for him for other jobs, that he's not taking the Ireland job. It's not that he's been offered it; it's that he's now still available. That's how that's coming out, and that's probably the same kind of thing with Coleman as well. So we don't know this list. I mean, they've even said that there's 12 candidates on it, and they've cast it
Anthony
far and wide.
Hudson, the Kiwi lad.
Yeah, I think that's just them doing their due diligence and things. I mean, dare I say it, I wonder if they had a chat with Vera Pauw. See if she was interested in coming back. That would really stir it all up.
Don't start. Well, you're going to stir Felix up now if you keep going down that road. Canham did say we're getting closer. That's all I will say in it. I'm not going to comment on any individuals or any circumstances. He also said, this is just sort of like he spoke to different various media outlets in Ireland today because it was a pathway launch. He also said that they're basically copying the same pathway as he did to replace Vera Pauw, who you just mentioned there a second ago. So they're basically going down the same route as that. He mentioned how it's going to be confidential, and he wants everyone to respect the confidentiality, etc., etc., etc. It's just, people are calling it a circus. I listened to Kevin Doyle and Richie Sadler on RT a little bit. It was on Twitter, and they were saying that, this is going on. Like, I think it's how many weeks is it now? Something like 60 days or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But, at the end of the day, they're trying to get the right person. I believe that they're still trying to get Carsley. Now, it was also reported, I think, by John Fallon in the Examiner, that Carsley is out of the running. I don't think that's the case, because we've heard another whisper as well, haven't we? Actually, Connor mentioned it from Republic of Ireland Tracker. He mentioned it on Twitter, in fact, give him a shout over there, that he's heard a few whispers that they're still negotiating with Carsley. That, Carsley hasn't ruled himself out, has he?
I think it will be Carsley still.
I still think, yeah.
I still think it will, and I think the reason for that, I'll come on to obviously explain, but I think it will be. And what I think is going to happen is, I think there'll be a temporary manager in place for March.
Yeah.
Now we're obviously guessing at this, to be honest, right? But I think it'll be a temporary manager in March, and I think that's because of him as a character and person. It's gone on a little bit too long that he doesn't want to leave the under-21s for England in the lurch. 4 weeks out from a very key game for them in their qualification campaign. He wants to kind of probably leave on better terms with England. Is it that crucial that he takes the Ireland job now? It can be in safe hands. I think the critical point of this is, again, from something that Mark Canham said today. Ireland's recruitment for a new manager is a head coach. So they want to put in place a head coach kind of scenario where that's the figurehead of their team. But the backroom staff is all in there, in the background. Everyone is working in the FAI. Backroom staff, they're going to have to deliver on key targets and things like that of what they do. You will be the head coach. You will bring in, your first assistant, second assistant, probably have a say on your goalkeeper assistant as well, or coach as well, and some of your backroom staff. They'll have a limited budget for that to allow you to come in. But it means that when that head coach goes, they're not just taking everyone with them and it's a big restructure. This is the way that modern football seems to be going. That seems to
they want a continuity plan in place. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's not a bad idea at all with that.
That's actually diligent. That is diligent from Mark Canham. Do you think there's a little bit of, don't mean to bring nationality into it, that you've got an English guy who's in charge of this process, and we've never had this particular. We've always had a panel. We've had like Ray Houghton and Don Howe and all these guys kind of interviewing people, but this is one guy. We're doing it the modern way, and he was interviewed today. He seems super relaxed, super confident, and just kind of God. You can see on his face, almost thinking, "Christ, these guys here are making a massive 4-course meal out of this." Do you think it's just a case of here's a guy from England? He's very assured, he's very confident. You have to be in the situation he's in, and he's just doing it his way, and he's just doing it in a very patient way, and he's looking at it going, "Look, this is a negotiation. In my, we don't have any, inside information on this, but he's gone to Lee Carsley. Look, this is what we want, and Lee Carsley's got nah. And here's our offer. No, here's our other offer. No, I want this. Well, we can't. It's a negotiation, and he's thinking, look, tidy up what you have to tidy up with the under-21s. Do your diligence there, because they've been good to you. You want to leave on the best possible terms. In case this doesn't work out, you probably have a job for life at the FA. They're not going to begrudge you going to the FAI. But leave, don't burn any bridges, leave in the best possible way, and then come to us. So basically, Azerbaijan, etc., get that out of the way. We still have friendly games in June, and then we have the Nations League. And by the way, there's no mad pressure on you to win the Nations League. We know this is a rebuild, hence why we're going to give you a 4-year contract. Do you think I've gone on a bit there, but do you think that's kind of it? Like, he's just been.
It's an excellent point. I think this is modern football business. I think what Mark Cannam's doing, and a lot of people probably won't like what I'm going to say, but this is dragging Irish football into the modern football world.
I think so.
This is how the FA have had to do this with England's DNA structure with Southgate. They trusted that they were going to put that in place. All the football coaching courses I'm doing now are a lot more modern than they were 20 years ago when I first did them. They've got a whole profile of what they want to do, like the England DNA. This is, I think Ireland, to be fair, have got a fantastic infrastructure in place already for the coaching development. Some amazing coaches in Irish football. We've spoken to many of them on the podcast in the past, and amazing people working in Irish football. This is just to modernise it now, though, and put that structure in place. It's going to piss off the old guard. It's going to piss off the old suits, and
being
the
Irish,
jolly boys and stuff. And being Irish, we're not going to like being dictated to. And why we have to do it?
But patience as well. We're not known for patience. And
the other thing is well, you have to remember that, like, we our podcast and show is all about Irish football, and we can mix it up with talking about the current situation in Irish football. But we love to look back on the nostalgia and the old days and the glory days of Big Jack and all that kind of thing. Irish football has done incredibly well over the years, in spite of the poor management of it. Right, so you can go through the League of Ireland as well. And now I don't know anything about that, but I'm obviously looking out for me outside of looking into that. And you're seeing people disgruntled and everything, but that's a whole different thing to focus on. But we've wasted incredible amounts of money. We had glory days under Big Jack. We had incredible players coming through, and the structure of football, obviously, internationally has changed. Youth players coming through from all different continents now that are playing club football in England, whereas earlier it was there was an outlet, wasn't there, for Irish players coming through. We've had to adapt with that. But we've wasted so many opportunities that we still don't have a sponsor. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent and rant about that. But that's what, if you get your house in order, I think there has to be a lot of trust. And I've said on the last few shows that we've done, it's an incredible position of trust to Mark Cannon. But I'll be honest with you, I was very impressed with him today, how he spoke. And, he can look back and he can turn around and say they've said it in their press conferences releases today, with the 11,000 hours of consultation. So they've engaged with all the stakeholders in Irish football, and they're saying we have to do this. It's been quite well received from people who, to be honest with you, on Twitter, we know it's a cesspit at times, apart from if you follow us, of course. But you can see some respected people in Irish football who I think have got very sound views, and they're saying this is needed to shake up Irish football. This could easily have been put in place by Noel Mooney or the likes. These guys are business. They're astute business people now in football. The football administrators, right? They're very, very good. They've been through all the UEFA courses and things like that. You have to trust that they know, and they're also doing workshops on this to get everyone's house in order in Europe.
You've got to remember as well,
this is what we're doing.
We basically had one man running Irish football in the country for 14 years.
And before that, we had a committee and a jobs for the boys, and we had lads going on jolly ups and not even going to the matches. So
it's completely so we lost all that time. We lost all that development. Because one guy running the show. It was a dictatorship, let's be honest. And allegedly, don't want to get sued. But, it was one guy running it. There was no room for modernization. It was just one way. And if you read in Champion Football, what happened there, now you have a new way of doing it. And this whole thing of a decision is going to be imminent. It can't be imminent because he makes his recommendation to the board. The board had to ratify it. That's how this is done. So, but the thing is, though, Mark, what we have to stress as well, I think the FAI have done it well, but only if they get Lee Carsley or somebody of that ilk. If they come out with a Chris Coleman or Neil Lennon, then it's going to look like.
But that's why I do have faith in it. I think they've not. They're not panicking. Why everyone's kicking off? Well, we haven't got a manager and we're a month away. They're
If we
not.
don't
They're not
have a
seeming to
man,
panic.
as long as we get
Gonna,
the right man at the end of the
yeah.
tunnel, as long as we get the right guy in.
Because if you appoint Steve Bruce or Big Sam or Chris Coleman, it undermines your pathway idea. They've said we need to have our coach aligned with our thinking of the pathway. Now that guy's not. If you have your number one target, which is, I would say, is clearly Carsley. If you have that number one target, you've either got to throw loads of money at him to get him, or you've got to be patient to get him. And you know, we've got to be patient as Ireland fans, I think, because I think they're determined to get him, and that might be from independent funding in a sense. I think that's something that was referenced in the pathway today, that they will need some kind of private investment at times, and whether that is a sponsor coming in or some deal being done, if that's going to get their main man in as they want for the coach, because you've got to remember they get the coach in and Carsley could be the one, right? And then Carsley does really well with Ireland, or even it just doesn't work out, right? For whatever reason, he might not want to settle in Ireland or whatever it is. They want someone coming in of the same ilk, though. They want someone who's going to buy into the pathway. This is a key thing as well that you said today, Mark.
Yeah.
They've spoken to it's not detracting from the recruitment process that they're saying you're a head coach. You're not like a manager coming in like Mick, you're the manager. No, this is a guy we want him involved in all the levels of our pathway and invested in that idea. And this has all been at consultation level at the moment, the pathway. So surely all the candidates have had that provided to them and said, is this something that you think you can contribute to? And perhaps Coleman has turned around and gone, I'm not the guy for you guys because I don't have that mindset. And this is how we did it in Wales. And it's not aligned with their thinking.
Yeah.
You could easily have that. Like, we don't want that manager coming in for the big jolly payday, and then they just go off out the door when they get offered a relegation battle and £1 million bonus to stay up. We want everything else.
Also, I noticed with Chris Coleman, the clouds were forming over Chris Coleman, weren't they? Because all of a sudden you hear these stories of it happened with Neil Lennon as well. Oh, maybe Neil Lennon. Well, Ruth Coppinger comes out. Well, actually, he threatened his mistress because his other mistress found out about his other mistress. And all this sort of stuff that came out. Chris Coleman, all of a sudden, the clouds form. Like, oh, well, actually, hold on a second. Did he not evict his wife, his previous wife, of his mother of his 4 children? Yeah. All this starts coming through. And then it's sort of like, he's in and then he's out and then they sort of go away.
Yeah.
So the way the media are doing this, he was not a popular choice. But as I said, look, they have to get the decision right. If we get to March, I want to go on record, right? If it turns out we go to March and we don't have a manager in place and we have like a temporary management team, John O'Shea, whatever you'd imagine it would be, and then after that it's announced maybe during the window that Lee Carsley is our manager, I don't have a problem with that. I know you won't have a problem with that because, look, they had to. You'd imagine to get him finally on board. It took a lot. It was patience. It was chipping away. He did also say today, Mark Canham, that the whole thing of the hybrid of you have your staff, but we also have some of our guys. He said that nobody has wilted at that. Nobody's kind of, oh, no, that's not for me. So, but I think that's been a discussion with Lee Carsley. That's just my opinion. As I said, they have to get the right man. Also, I was thinking about this the other day, whilst I was in the shower, funnily enough. God, this shows you where my head's been at. And I was thinking, could you imagine, right, if you're the FAI and you launch your Revolut, because we believe Revolut's going to be our new sponsor, and you don't have a manager, or you maybe not have a manager, but if you were to, unveil Chris Coleman or Neil Lennon, all of a sudden the questions would be coming out. Why did that take? Why is it we haven't had a sponsor for 4 years? What's all that about? All the questions come out. But if you have a sponsor, maybe a vacant management, maybe a vacant manager, but also you have a sponsor and you come out with Lee Carsley, everything looks rosy for the FAI, doesn't it? All of a sudden, no one gives a shit about the 4 years. It's like, we got a great big sponsor and we have a great big manager, or we hope anyway, and all looks great. But if they don't have the manager in place, or they have somebody who no one likes,
it's overhanging,
it's like, why'd you take 4 years? So it's a big big few weeks coming up for the FAI.
And I think that there are candidates to do the job temporarily as well, like John O'Shea, like you said. And again, anyone who's, I mean, he's coming to favouritism now in the bookies, but it won't be a permanent role, I don't think.
Whoever it will be, I'd imagine whoever does get it in a temporary role will be the FAI representation on the next manager staff, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and that's where John O'Shea fits in. And that's, to be honest, something I wanted to see. I think he was unfairly tarnished. Now, people say, well, what did he do? He's been a coach with other people. I just think, I think he's probably unfairly tarnished with that. I think he came in late to that. I think he had some good positive influence with that. From what I've heard from different people and sources and things of, how he was. And, I think you can't knock the guy's credentials. And, I think he's a safe kind of bet at the moment for an interim manager role, where he'll bring in, he'll be he could even be like Shay Gibbon as goalkeeper coach, that kind of thing. They'll just put a little group together of what way they want to do it.
Well, it depends what the FAI want. I'd imagine anyway, because then you have that relationship there, and then there's that bit of continuity. Yeah. And then when
it might not actually, I wouldn't be surprised even like the likes of Dean Kiley coming in temporarily. Back because again, I think your goalkeeper coach is very separate to your backroom stuff. Like he's not having any. No, he's working solely with the goalkeepers, and look, not to go off on the gameplay and stuff, but when people are tarring, I wouldn't blame. The goalkeepers were beaten from distance a lot, weren't they? That was a big thing of we get beaten, but I wouldn't put that on a goalkeeper coach. That's not what he's coaching them about.
No,
okay, preparation for it, but that's on outfield players should be closing down. So,
yeah.
I
mean, just to underscore that point, that was down to Kenny because his team sat off, and you give a professional footballer, you give a professional football all the time and space in the world, they're going to get that shot on target 9.5 times out of 10. That shot's going on target because you give him space. That's what you do. Right, we're going to move it on there anyway. But of course, if we do have a new manager in place at all, we will be live at some point. It might be a late one. It'll be a bloody long one, that's for sure. But we will be live, and we will have more states to play during the week. Obviously, it just depends, really, because you imagine now, what's the next name coming up? Who's going to come up tomorrow, or when we hit the stop button on this, and I wake up in the morning, who's going to be announced? Because it's going to happen. But we will definitely be there with you. We've been with you actually, and you've been with us through this entire process. But we don't know. We're guessing, Carsley. We've heard a few whispers. We don't know. We're not gonna pretend we do know. But we're just guessing anyway. Anyway, we're gonna move it on to Eileen Gleeson, the new women's manager. Martin, you're our women's expert, and yeah, it was a bit strange, wasn't it? The team was announced, the squad was announced there last week to absolutely zero fanfare. And people were coming out going, what was going on? Like, no announcement, no press conference, what's happening there? And I think some people were kind of were attesting to the FAI not showing the women's game respect, after all the success they've had, and rightly so, they've been brilliant. But actually, turns out is that Eileen Gleeson didn't want the press conference, or that's what we're led to believe, because there's a little bit of controversy over her previous role.
Yeah, it's just to come on this far from an expert, Dave, but thank you for your kind sentiments. I do obviously have an interest in it, and Eileen Gleeson getting the role, absolutely no problem of being the head coach of the women's team, and that is the kind of role she's got. Stepping down, I suppose, from kind of director of football, the women's game. She was doing a very good job there as well, very popular. Obviously, she had engagement with the squad over the World Cup as well. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and Vera Pauw to kind of know. I'd love to see. Vera Pauw's got to come out with a book, basically. I'd love to read that.
We'll get her on the pod again.
Yeah, but Eileen's come in and got the big job, and it's probably coming under scrutiny now as how they recruited her for that, because they were the FAI. Mark Canham did say we're going to cast the net far and wide, and we're going to get the best person for it, and it's an interesting job for people. It's attractive. Eileen ended up getting it. Absolutely no problem with that. But yeah, it was just the lack of fanfare around it was a bit disappointing for me, to be honest, because you're trying to raise the profile of the game, getting the women done amazingly well. I know that they didn't do it, but I suspect it was because I think there would have been a bit of distraction. There would have been questions about the men's. You're inside the FAI. You must know what's going on. She's brought in. I mean, they did ratify her backroom staff. No real surprises there. Colin Healy staying on. Emma Byrne, brilliant to see her. She for me is a little bit like the John O'Shea role, like over 100 caps for Ireland. You can't question what she's done and the commitment to Ireland. Talks a good game, very, very experienced, good pundit as well, very knowledgeable of it all, and I think has the respect of those players immediately for what she's done on the pitch. John O'Shea would bring that to the men's. I think that's what he would bring. Now I know it's not all about that, and people, well, they're a good coach, but I think she's fantastic for that role. They've got a new addition in the backroom staff, Reece Carr. Don't know too much about that person at all. And then they've got the strength and conditioning person staying on as well. But they've got a game on Friday in Italy, and then they play Wales a few days later on the 27th. So, yeah, it's an interesting squad. She brought back Amber Barrett, who was the hero of Glasgow, of course, when we qualified for the World Cup. Niamh Fahey's back. Aoife Mannion, who I absolutely love Aoife Mannion as a footballer. I think she's unbelievable. She's going to be the one stepping out from the back. Really gutted for her when she missed the World Cup. And then Leanne Kiernan's back from injury as well. And Emily Murphy is called up. She qualifies for her grandfather, I think, or father from being Irish, obviously. And but she's based in England or plays in America. But since the squad was announced, we do have a situation that Denise O'Sullivan and Tyler Toland are out. I mean, the interesting thing there with Tyler Toland, she came back in straight away to Eileen Gleeson's first squad. And she was the one who was omitted after kind of Vera Powell fell out with her father. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on. The women's game, as we know, is increasing in profile and everything like that. And yeah, I'm all for that. I'll be following the game on Friday, of course, and seeing how they get on. And I think Eileen's got an interesting squad there and it's developing very well. And I think it'll be exciting time to see. But the flack the FAI are getting now is, they will now have to recruit a women's director of football. And that's it all. The kind of speculation is, are they going to see how Eileen gets on? And if it doesn't work out, she goes back to that role. But I think we're in a safe place and safe set of hands with her. But it's then who comes in above her, and is that going to fit in again with this pathway and this idea they have in place?
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Like with women, how different women's football is to men's football. I find women's football a lot more mature than men's football because the way it looks on the outside in is, okay, Eileen, we'll see how it goes for you. You're very happy in your role as director of football. You're very good at it. But if it doesn't work out for you, maybe there's a pathway for you to go back. Mm-hmm. Where if that was the men's game, you look at Brian Kerr, how that went. You would have loved for him to go into a technical director role at that time in 2005. Nope, banished from the FAI. Still banished from not kind of self-exiled at the moment. But it's so different, isn't it? Women's game, like it's just it's a bit more practical, a bit more logical in that way. But best of luck to them anyway. But just very strange when it came. When I saw there was literally no fanfare, nothing. But obviously just want to avoid a few questions there. And moving on away from Irish football, actually, we had a bit of sad news that came out today. And that was the news of Andreas Brehme, the World Cup winning. There he is there. World Cup winning goal scorer, penalty scorer. Wasn't it the first penalty? Italia 90, by the way. The first penalty ever scored in the World Cup final? No, it wasn't. Sure, 74 had that. No, sorry. What led to it was Jurgen Klinsmann diving, getting sent off for the penalty, and that led to the first person ever sent off in a World Cup final.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's what it was. He scored a penalty. A dreadful final, Italia 90. Yeah. I don't remember. I was 6. You were about, 30?
No, I remember it, yeah. I mean, look, I could go off a tangent here about Italia 90, so I will. You've got to remember the back pass were always in then. So it was. I mean, everyone remembers their first World Cup, okay, and you think it was the best ever. And for lots of Ireland fans, it would be Italia 90 because Ireland were in it, right?
Yours was 74, was it?
Yeah, 66. Great year for English football. Eric was born.
Oh god.
But everyone think you've when you remember your first World Cup quite vividly, you always think, oh, it was brilliant because you're so excited. And you probably, I'm going to watch all the games. You've got the sticker album and everything like that. Now, that wasn't my first World Cup, 1990, but I do really vividly remember it. And it was a dreadful final, and it wasn't a great World Cup. Great story of the book, a fantastic book actually, World in Motion. Which is the whole story of it. I mean, Costa Rica, I think I've told the story in the podcast before. They beat Scotland. They have a national holiday every year to celebrate that. That's incredible. That shows you the power of football, basically. So,
Nice.
I digress, of course. But no, I think just to back to that story, I think it's quite interesting as well. I think the star German player in that World Cup was Lothar Matthäus, and there is, I think, isn't there? The Germans they row almost as much as the French. In latter years, then when their careers finish, it all comes out who hated each other really, and there's so much kind of vitriol between them all. But I think I think I'm right in thinking Matthäus bottled taking the penalty. I'm not sure if that's correct.
Really?
Someone can correct me.
That wouldn't be like him.
No, I think that could be right, or because Matthäus is, it is a very divisive figure in German football, isn't it? I think it's Effenberg's autobiography, isn't it? Is it where it says?
Well, to be fair, Stefan Effenberg got thrown out of the squad, didn't he?
Or is it Sam? It's one of their autobiographies. So is that a chapter is everything Lothar Matthäus knows about football, and it's just a blank page, and then it goes to the next chapter. It's very bitter and bitchy. But yeah, he was brilliant, Lothar Matthäus, in that tournament. But yeah, I vividly remember like a World Cup winning penalty. It was a dire game, but he had the balls to step up and do it. And it was
very sad.
It was great.
Believe heart attack, the age of 63.
Very sad. And sad for German football in the wake of obviously losing Beckenbauer recently, and it just shows we're all getting a bit older, Dave.
Well, yeah. Well, you are.
Well, like Beckenbauer, Charlton, it's crazy, isn't it? Really, and we've spoke recently about Irish. We see Charlie O'Leary, of course, is over 100 now, legend, still going. Paddy Mulligan's in his 80s, I think now. It's crazy. Like all these guys is just one of my heroes and doing, still going and still giving opinion and following Irish football. And
I was only talking to like one of my very best mates there yesterday, not you, Martin, and he was getting his he was actually on about getting his cholesterol done because he's 38, 2 years younger than me, and get your cholesterol done, lads. We're not getting older. Look after yourselves. Get your bloods done. Get your
bloods. Yeah, bloods as well for the prostate. Is it?
For the prostate,
a few people I know that have been recently affected by that and talking about that. So it is important. Yeah,
absolutely. So look after yourself. Right.
What? Just to be a bit more positive though, before we go.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Is to say, and I'm gonna. You can pick this name off the floor. I think everyone knows by now, and we're gonna give away the poster, aren't we? The Packy Bonner Shay Given signed poster. We're gonna give that away to one of our lovely viewers very shortly. We've got a little video to come actually of how you can win that. It's coming out soon, I believe. But he is in great nick, isn't he, Packy? Like he looks just like that poster as well. Still, he's absolutely brilliant, Nick, and great man to chat to as well. And to be fair, Shay is in great condition since.
Go on, we'll show the picture every week. We show every episode. We show this picture.
And look at me, I'm all right. Well, I'm tipping along there in their fine company, and it's just I'm quite pleased to see how well they're doing and looking after themselves, and it's good.
No, it is good. Yeah. But yes, we are going to give away that poster very shortly. We are looking to push the YouTube channel big time. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers. So I think we're at 500 and something. We're hardly knocking down the door at the moment on YouTube, but it is going up. But we want to get to 1,000 subscribers. So with your help, we can do that. So if you do, as I said, like what you hear and love what you see, hit that subscribe button. Tell people about us. Obviously, we will be live towards the back end of this week. Are we going to be? We're looking to go live Monday, Martin, not Sunday.
We'll
Monday
be
live
live
show.
on Monday, and also, like,
Yeah.
we want your interaction. As we say, we're the self-proclaimed voice of the fans. If you've got any ideas you want to see us do or chat about on the pod, if you want to give us a view of if you think a particular Ireland player was world class and you want to debate that with us, go ahead and give us the name and we'll chat about that. But we just want to hear from you and have a bit of fun along the way. We're not too serious. We're not clickbaity. We're not wind up merchants. We are. I think.
How can you say that with a straight face, Martin?
I know, yeah. But I think we have.
With.
We go to matches like many of our viewers, and we just want to. We thought there was an outlet for having a bit of crack and chatting about Irish football, and that's proven to be the case. And
get involved.
Do share us and let your friends know that these lads. We might not be divisive with our opinions, but as I said, we'll respect yours. You respect ours, and we'll have a good crack along the way.
And if you don't, we'll have a bit of crack anyway. It's not if you want to just come on and give us abuse. I mean, people do that regardless. Yeah, no, I mean the live series that we do most Sundays, but we will be live. I reckon this Monday. We do have real jobs, unfortunately, as well. But get involved. Have your say. Tell if you want to comment on what we're talking about on the lives, or if you just want to ask us a question, or you just want to go off topic a little bit, like we had, the world class argument and quagmire that Martin got himself into. Some of his outrageous comments, by the way. Robbie Keane, world class. Ronnie Whelan, Dennis Irwin, not. Oh, Martin. Lost all credibility there. Anyway,
sometimes what I say is in jest. If you kind of get my humor, but my humor is probably not known by everybody. But
can't hear you over that beeping noise. Backing up, backing up there. But anyway, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Martin, thank you very much for being on. As I said earlier on, hit that subscribe button, scan that QR code, head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm David Dunn. He's Martin Prendergast. This has been A State of Play, and we're off. Good night. God bless.